Okay, next one is mistake. So mistake is also a defense. Now, what is mistake? We say, right, that by mistake I called you, by mistake I sent you this message. So what is mistake? Is mistake a defense? Can we escape our liability under this ground or not? So when we talk about mistake, there are two types of mistakes. One is mistake of law and one is mistake of fact. Okay, mistake of law is not an excuse. Okay, is an excuse. Mistake of fact is an excuse. We can claim mistake of fact as a defense, but we cannot claim mistake of law as an excuse. Now, what is mistake of law? Mistake of law is nothing.
Not aware.
Yes, not aware
of law.
Yes, correct. So not aware of the law. We cannot say that I have not studied law, so I was not aware. It is expected that whatever laws apply to us, maybe as an Indian or as doing any being involved in any sort of profession, business, etc., we are expected to know the laws that apply to us. So tomorrow I cannot open a shop and say that I did not know I need to follow the rules and regulations under Shops and Establishment Act just because I have not studied law. So that will not be an excuse. I cannot say that I did not know I have to pay income tax because I have not studied Income Tax Act. That will not be an excuse. If some law is applicable to me, it's expected that I know that law and I abide by that. But when we talk about mistake of fact, it is an excuse. So what is mistake of
Ma'am, just before that,
yeah.
that mistake of law is applicable universally, means as equally any other body. If we take an example of people who are living in remote area, remote villages, they'll not at all be able to get this kind of law knowledge or something like that, because they will not be of educated people or something like that. If something goes wrong with those people, in such cases also this mistake of law will be taken into consideration, or
Yes, mistake of law will never be an excuse. We are expected to know the laws, even in remote areas. Also, if you talk about as such, what laws are applicable? Being involved in some profession or some kind of a business, few laws would be applicable to us, and in general, certain things are applicable which like we are almost aware of it, right? That okay, killing someone is bad, slapping someone is bad, injuring someone is bad. These are some things which anyways we have an idea that maybe this is something which is wrong, right? So as such, not like much of technical things would be applicable to the person, right? And if somebody wants to open a shop or enter into any business, that person would definitely talk to someone maybe who is already in that business, already in that profession. So like that also they would get some idea. Okay, and if any new laws are being made applicable, maybe like COVID related regulations, or maybe that traffic related matters, that you need to wear a helmet while riding a bike or vehicle. Both the persons should wear a helmet. All these things, anyways, in newspaper, television, everywhere it would be circulated, right? So like that, people would mostly have an idea about what laws are applicable to them. Okay, and in remote areas might be the panchayat and other bodies, they will make them informed that from this particular date itself, these certain things would be applicable. So you need to abide by that. So mostly they will have some idea or they will get to know about it. Okay.
okay.
So mistake of law will never be an excuse. I cannot say that I was not aware of the law. Now, when we talk about mistake of fact, it is an excuse. But when I say that, okay, whatever I did was because of mistake of fact, it was not intentional, there I need to prove it before the court beyond any reasonable doubts. I need to prove it that yes, it actually was a case of mistake of fact. Okay, it actually was a case of mistake of fact and I'm not taking advantage of it. Okay, and if court is satisfied that yeah, the situation was only like that, their court will give me the defense, or court will help me to escape my liability. Okay, but I simply cannot say that, okay, there was mistake of fact, I thought it to be like this or like that. Like that, defense would not be applicable, because court would say that why you thought like that. Okay, there has to be a reason, or there has to be a justification that, like the situation itself justified that, okay, fine, I felt it like that. Okay, this is nothing but mistake of fact. Maybe take for example, in some public places, like in public parks and all, or some places of maybe like tourist attraction, you will see that they will mention that this entry fee is maybe 20 rupees per day. But if you want to shoot something, if you want to bring your cameras and all, it is 5,000, 10,000. Have you seen like that?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is nothing but for maybe filmmakers or some photographers and stuff who wants to shoot something. All right. So it applies. So maybe there was a situation wherein filmmakers were there and they were shooting for a movie, and they wanted to shoot some parts of the film in a certain park. Okay. And the fee that they had to pay was 10,000 rupees per day. So they felt that, okay, fine, anyways, we need to shoot only few scenes. So what we will do is that we will plan everything properly, and then we will finish it in one single day only. So that we don't end up paying 20,000, we can finish it in 10,000 only. Okay, so they planned their entire day and they were shooting in that particular park. There was a scene where they were shooting a murder scene. Okay, and cameras were set up maybe at a distant place, and two persons were fighting, and one person was trying to kill another one. Now I went to the park and I felt that nobody is around, just these two persons are there. One person is trying to kill the other one. I felt that it's a real situation that was going on, and it was not shooting for a movie. And I know that, okay, fine, I have self defense, I can protect someone else's life and property. So what I did is, without listening to anyone, without asking anything to anyone, I dragged one of those persons to the police station. Okay, without listening to anyone, I dragged that person to the police station. And in that entire process, I wasted half an hour of their time. As a result, what happened, after going to the police station, I came to know that it was just a shooting that was going on. It was not a real situation. Okay. And after wasting 20 minutes, what happened is these people were not able to finish all the scenes in that one single day, because half of their time was wasted. In such a case, I can provide a justification that yes, the situation itself was such that I had to believe, or anybody else also would have believed, that this is a real situation going on. So in that case, I can say that it was mistake of law, and I did not do anything intentionally. I did not waste their time intentionally. So I can escape the liability over there. When the defendant acts under mistaken belief in some situation, then he may use the defense of mistake to avoid liability under law of tort. So like that, he can use. Maybe a person might have entered a private premises. Mostly you would see empty plots. They would mention, this is a private plot of land, we are not selling it. Trespassers would be prosecuted. Like that, they would put boards also. Right? So sometimes it might happen that I can say that, okay, I felt like this is like a public field only, because there was this public field nearby, and just beside it there was one plot, and there was no boundary wall or anything like that. So I thought that it's a part of this public park only. Right? So that is why we would see that they would put boundary, at least if they have not done any construction, and they would put a board, trespassers will be prosecuted, so that there is no scope of mistake of fact. We do not think that it's a private public plot of land or something like that. Now, whenever we talk about mistake of fact, right, it has to be justified. And it should not happen that I am just being very negligent, and for every single thing I'm saying that it's a mistake of fact, I should not be held liable. That will not happen. Okay, so there was this case, Morrison versus Ritchie, wherein the defendant by mistake published a statement that the plaintiff gave birth to twins in good faith. Now, whatever publication he made, he did not do it with any bad intention or anything. Okay, in good faith. He thought that might be that this is true, and he published this statement that this plaintiff has given birth to twins. But the reality of the matter was that the plaintiff got married just 2 months before publication of this statement. As a result, what happened? Defendant was plaintiff was offended and she filed a case for defamation. Now, defendant was held liable for the offense of defamation, and the element of good faith was considered immaterial in this case. That whatever I published, it was because of mistake of fact, and I actually thought that she has given birth to twins. That justification was not accepted by court. Okay, because what was the need for you to publish such a statement wherein you do not have proper information, right? So like that, we cannot come up with a defense, because otherwise all defamation cases, people would say that, okay, fine, I felt like that. This would not happen. Okay, so there are situations wherein it has to be justified, otherwise this defense will not be applicable to person. So in this case, court did not accept that defense. Next is consolidated company versus Curtis. In this case, there was an auctioneer, okay, auction some goods of his customer. Now, there are some auctioneers, what they will do is that other common people can come to them and they will help them to auction their goods. Okay, so this same thing happened here. There was an auctioneer who used to help other people auction their goods and then sell them. So this person auctioned some goods of his customer. One customer came to him, gave him some goods that I want to sell this in auction, and he also auctioned them, believing that the goods belong to him. When the customer said that these goods belong to me, the customer simply said that you sell these goods, and the person also, without questioning, thought that these goods belong to him. So he sold them in an auction. But later on, what happened is the true owner filed a case against the auctioneer for the tort of conversion, that it was my property, it was my goods. But what you have done is you have done the tort of conversion. You have sold them in an auction as goods belonging to this other person. In this case, the court held the auctioneer liable and mentioned that mistake of fact is not a defense that can be pleaded here. The auctioneer cannot simply say that, okay, it was by mistake I sold it. Okay, when he is the auctioneer, he should ensure that this person is the owner of it, right? He might have asked him, he might have sought for bills and stuff like that to ensure that this person is the owner of the property. Without doing it, if he simply sold it, he was held liable for the tort of conversion, and the defense of mistake of fact was not applicable. So for mistake of fact, it's very important that we establish it beyond any doubts before the court that yes, the situation itself was such that I had no other option but to believe that this is true. Okay, it's also applicable in case of contracts also, you will see mistake of fact. Okay, mistake of fact, whether it is an excuse under which we can escape our liability or not. This is also a very common thing. Okay, so mistake of law is not an excuse, but mistake of fact can be an excuse if we are able to prove it beyond any reasonable doubts.